This is Kincaid right here.
At the bell, new gear for a new leader, Woody Kincaid, as he flies down the backstretch. Everybody, I'm Paul Swangard, joined by Otto Bolden, Kira Goucher, and Lewis Johnson. And we get set for a fast and furious couple of hours of coverage here. Start the 2023 season, and we start with a non-traditional distance. Otto, women's 500 meters.
But it's one that should produce a very exciting race, and that's because of the presence of Femke Bol, the World Championship silver medalist last year at the World Championships in Eugene. The only race she lost in her pet 400-meter hurdle event is to Sydney McLaughlin-Levroni's spectacular world record.
First time she's ever run this distance. Won some European championships as well, and in a championship year, Geneve Russell won the Commonwealth Games championship in the hurdles.
Yeah, she's a two-time Commonwealth Games champion. She does have Olympic bronze with the Jamaican 4x4, and she was fourth just off the podium at the Tokyo Olympics 2 years ago.
See the lane assignments with Russell and Bol, joined by Anderson of Jamaica in 3 and Losana de Wit of the Netherlands in 5. 500-meter distance for a 400-meter specialist. It's going to be that last stretch that matters.
Yeah, and Femke Bol has shown us so much strength and speed in the last year. You have to think that she's the favorite here. This is her first 500, but she has run 50-30 for this indoor event. That's fast.
And you see that 12-degree bank at this new facility in Boston, and she comes off of it quickly, and this will be now 2 laps of this 200 meters as she stays in her lane early on.
So you see Geneve Russell coming up to challenge in 4. She's trying to get the break on Femke Bol, but I think she'll just miss as a little injection of pace there by Bol. She wants to stay in the front and control this race from right where she is now. I don't know if anybody's going to be able to stay with her. Mind you, these are 2 400-meter hurdle runners in first and second here.
Well, you see her with a bell lap now to go in this race, starting to break loose from Russell. She said in the news conference she knew what it would take to perhaps go after a world record.
The world record is 1:06.31. It's been there for 17 years, and it looks like Femke Bol will at least be close.
The silver medalist last year at Oregon in the women's 400-meter hurdles debuts at this distance, and watch the clock. World record.
So what a way to kick off the 2023 broadcast season. Femke Bol comes all the way to Boston from her native Netherlands and runs the fastest time ever for 500 indoors, 1:05.63. She's the first person ever under 1:06. So we knew there was a chance based on the form of Femke Bol, and that's how she looked all of last year, almost like a metronome. She gets into a rhythm that nobody else can hang with, and then look at this, off the turn, strong as ever. And you can see why this is the face of Dutch athletics. She got the silver last year at the World Championship. She got the bronze the year before at the Olympics. But man, more to come from her. We expect to see her blazing outdoors as well.
So the new standard in the women's 500 meters, 1:05.63, and the world record holder is down with our Lewis Johnson. Lou?
All right, Paul, thanks very much. Well, Femke, what were you thinking as you stood there on the blocks with the 400, 100 plus 500 meters to go around this track?
Yeah, it was just go out fast and see when the electric comes, but keep on going.
And you just did that. So as you came up the home straightaway and you crossed, you saw the time and you heard the crowd. What did you think?
Yeah, it was amazing, especially already the last 100 meters. I could hear the crowd, and it helped me so much. So thanks a lot. It was great to be at an American track meet.
And at the beginning of the 2023 season with an event like this and a Worlds at the end of the year, what are your thoughts about this early performance?
Well, I have European indoors, so I always want to do great indoors. I love it. And it was fun to do a 500 to start. The 400 it will be short now.
All righty, congratulations on a world record. Great start to the season.
Thank you.
All right, Paul.
Thanks very much, Lewis. What a way to start the season, 2023. Join alongside Kara Goucher and Otto Boden. Look forward to that World Outdoor Championship in Hungary in August. Otto, when we were last at a World Championship, it was on U.S. soil in Oregon. Big American record haul in the medal count, and many of those world champions will be featured here today.
Yeah, we're going to see two guys who did very well in Eugene. First, Noah Lyles, who, of course, took down Michael Johnson's 200-meter American record. Here he is, arriving looking all business. And then a guy who's riding a 56-meet win streak. That would be Grant Holloway, the world champion in this event, but he's also the world champion outdoors twice over. So we should be very, very excited about seeing these two.
And Aaliyah Hobbs in the 60, trying to make a U.S. team again this year.
Yeah, I think a lot of people are going to be rooting for Aaliyah Hobbs. Really unlucky at the Olympic trials, but what has she done so far this year? On January 28th, she ran the fastest time run by an American woman at 60 meters since Gail Devers in '99. That final should be very good as well.
That's pretty good company. Kara, it's been, you know, Boston is known for fast running, both on the roads, as you know, and on the track over at Boston University. And Woody Kincaid last month, not a bad start to his year in Boston.
An unbelievable start to his year. He sets the American record in the 5,000 meters in his first race of the season, running 12:51, the fastest time ever by an American and number 4 time in the world. Incredible performance by him. He's on a roll.
On the heels of that world record in the women's 500 meters, we get set for another record holder, the American record holder outdoors at 200 meters, taking down Michael Johnson's record last year at Oregon, as Noah Lyles gets set for the first of 2 preliminary heats in the men's 60.
And here's a guy who always wants to do that double, right? The 100 and the 200. We know he's capable of it 200 meters. Here's the scene last summer in Eugene. He comes off the turn and then continues to pull away from the 7 other fastest men in the world. It showed at first that he had tied the record, and then it got better. And that's why the celebration got better. New American record, 1931 for Noah Lyles. But here we will see him in the 60 working on his start. And there's a little sidebar going on here. He lost to his brother recently, his younger brother. So if both of them make the final, look out for that. Nobody wants to lose to their younger brother.
We'll see Josephus Lyles in that second heat, but the 2-time world champion from Alexandria, Virginia, will maybe have an easier route to that final, as he's the featured athlete here in heat number 1. He said in the news conference yesterday, coming off a little bit of a cold, but, you know, still, like you said, getting these indoor reps in, really to tune up for what is a bigger stage for him, which is outdoors.
Yeah, and while he has all the credentials, he has run 6:55 for this distance. This is the kind of heat where, pick 'em, anybody could win this heat, because the other 3 guys to his left and right are not going to care about his 200-meter prowess. They are well capable of running with the new American record holder at 200 meters, Noah Lyles.
Saw the list of the entrants here in Heat 1. It includes Demek Kemp, who was the U.S. champion in 2019. No shortage of talent when you bring together the best in this part of the world indoor circuit this year. So we'll have a lot of international athletes both here this weekend in Boston, and then the stop at the Armory in New York next week for the Millrose Games.
And I have to think that Noah Lyles wants to be on the U.S. Olympic team next year in both the 100 and the 200, and that's why he's continuing to work on his start. His turn he has fixed. We saw that last year in Eugene.
Loves to put on a show. This will be a quick one as Heat 1 in the men's 60 meters unfolds. And got to make some ground off after that start, but when he gets to his high-end speed, no one's going to touch him, and he advances himself into the final as we await the official time here. 6:56.
That's almost his personal best. So you see him very happy with that effort. Imagine if he got a better reaction to the gun. His acceleration, we already know what he can do once he gets going. But he had to be really pleased with this, because he moved right by everybody else in this race. And he's not too far off of his 6:55 personal best with this 6:56. So one of the brothers has made the finals. We'll see Josephus, his younger brother, in the next heat.
Gets a nice hand from this packed capacity crowd at the track at New Balance. They'll see him later on in the show, as you will as well, in the final of the men's 60 meters. Down the interior of this building, a lot of warm-up spaces, a throwing area. Otto, it's really state-of-the-art.
It's fantastic. This is my first time seeing it, and a lot of people are going to have some cherished memories here. Here's Terrence Laird, 666 to open his season a couple weeks ago. The NCAA champion back in 2021 at 100 meters, even though I think his better event is probably 200.
This has always been a pretty good event for Trayvon Bromell, world indoor champion back in 2015, and again on the podium in Oregon at 100 meters outdoors last year.
Yes, he has 2 bronzes from the World Championships, first in 2015 and then last year in Eugene as part of the U.S. sweep, including Marvin Bracey Williams and Fred Curley. He is the favorite for the final, and quite frankly, I don't think anybody here is going to get that close, but this early in the season, who knows?
And there is the aforementioned brother of Josephus Lyles, for now bragging rights in the family.
I want Josephus to make this final because I want him to run against his brother, because I know Noah is not taking that whole loss to my younger brother thing lightly.
Top 3 will automatically advance to the final later on in our show. A couple of time qualifiers as well to fill out the 8 lanes.
Well, lots of movement at the start, including in lane 3, and then there was some other movement. So this is a case where I think the starter will just caution everybody to come up and hold steadily at set. Don't think anybody's going to get thrown out here. Let's take another look. Look in lane 3. You'll see a movement there. And then you'll see one by Josephus Lyles. Yeah. So I saw an early movement by 3, and then Josephus Lyles. Look at the movement by Lyles in 6 right there. So that rule changed in 2010. It used to be that we charged 1 false start to the field, and then the next person guilty. Oh, wow. I guess we will not be seeing Josephus Lyles in the final because he just got disqualified.
Quick check and see if Noah's up in the clerk's circle.
I know, and quite frankly, you know, yeah, of course, by the letter of the law, yes, you can throw him out. But anybody who's been watching the sport knows that there are people who've been allowed to compete with a lot less of a move before the gun. So Josephus Lyles will not join his brother in the final. That's unfortunate. So here we go again, 4.
So vacated lane for Lyles in 6, as Michael Campbell have no one next to him in 7, and Bromell, our favorite here in Heat 2, is in lane number 5. And he gets that signature quick start. And in the center of the track, he's going to cross the line as the winner here in heat number 2. 661 gets him a ticket to the final.
Yep, he will be the favorite in the final. He almost had a false start of his own. Watch his head flinch just before he moves out. Just a slight movement of the head. But this is somebody with lots of indoor experience. Remember, he's a prior world indoor champion at this event. So he did have a slight flinch, but it didn't seem to worry him too much, and he was off the gas pretty early. So he will be the 2nd fastest qualifier into the final, second only to Noah Lyles' 6:56 in heat 1.
So there are the automatic qualifiers 1, 2, and 3. Campbell will make it in as well as a time qualifier. 8 men will race for the win here, as Noah Lyles will have at least bragging rights between the 2 heats for now, as the reigning world outdoor champion at 200 meters. We'll be back on the track a little later in the show. Welcome back inside the warmer confines that it is outdoors in Boston. The track at New Balance getting set for the final of the women's 60. And Otto, they had heats before our broadcast, featured a couple of big names a lot of people came to see, including Sydney McLaughlin-Levrone.
Yeah, Sydney McLaughlin-Levrone is 3rd from the right here in the long sleeves. She She's working on her speed, and that's because we expect her to see her in the 400-meter flat. But we've seen this before, though, Paul, haven't we? In 2021, her coach, Bobby Kersey, had her in the 60-meter hurdles, not her preferred event. Why was he doing it? To work on her being comfortable with being a left leg lead. That's her non-dominant leg. When all of this was done, she set a world record that we think is going to be there for quite some time. So Bobby Kersey, her coach, is back at it, putting her in the 60, working on her speed as we look now at the favorite for this final, Aaliyah Hobbs.
So they're going to give the athletes an opportunity to be introduced through this athlete entry portal, and then they'll go straight to their blocks and then we'll get set for racing. As see behind that finish line position just how full these stands are, and they're going to have a chance to welcome some of these athletes to the field of play as they get introduced one by one. We'll start with Candace Hill.
She made the final at the Olympic trials in 2021. She was a high school superstar running 10.98 at just 16 years of age. That's Kiara Parker out next. She was 6th at the U.S. Indoor Championships last year.
Kayla White of the United States was 3rd at the U.S. Indoor Championships last year.
Here's the favorite, fastest time since Gail Devers in 99, as we said at the top, 6:98 in January. And we may be looking at another world-leading time if she gets this right here today.
And I think in the choice of order they were making with the athletes, they were actually saving Aaliyah Hobbs till the last, and she's now saying, hey, these are not, I'm being introduced as other people, but I think she was supposed to be last in the order here. So working out the kinks here in our first meet inside of New Balance. And, you know, they opened it last year and set a world record on the first night with the first race. And there is Solera Barnes, who is coming out of the tunnel, and Kaya Briscoe. No, you got to wait too. You're going to be 7th in the order as we welcome Melissa Jefferson, the 21-year-old world champion medalist in the 4x100-meter relay last year.
And here's Anthony Strawn of the Bahamas. That is Aaliyah Hobbs' training partner and countrywoman, Makaya Briscoe, and there's Aaliyah Hobbs. So they finally got it right. But I'm really excited to see not only how fast Hobbs runs, but if anybody else steps up. I know Makaya Briscoe is well capable of running under 7 seconds as well, because she ran 6:99 last year. And the two of them will be in the middle, just as they are every day in practice. 4 and 5, Hobbs and Briscoe. Both of them attended LSU.
And she ran 2 heats in that meet that she went sub-7. And both those times, obviously one her PV, but the other in that first round was with the fastest time she's run in several years. So she's got something going right in training right now.
Yeah, and how fast is that 6:98 that I told you about that Aaliyah Hobbs ran? It's tied for number 9 all time. So the race figures to be in the middle of the track with Hobbs and Briscoe, but it's a 60. Anything can happen.
Get Hobbs in 4, Briscoe in 5. Final of the women's 60 meters. And they're both out well, but Hobbs got a step on. Briscoe's going to try to chase her down. High on her heels, and she goes to the line just above that 7-second mark. We'll wait for it to become official. Indeed it is. 7:02 for the often misidentified, but identified easily as the winner here in the 60. That is Aaliyah Hobbs.
Yep, so officially 7:02. If she comes to U.S. Indoors in Albuquerque, watch out, because she's consistent now. There's Aaliyah Hobbs, 4th from the right. She is consistent now at a time that is faster than her personal best coming into this year. And that indicates that she is ready anytime to run something that not only she has not run before, but one of the all-time greatest times in this event. So as we figured, Hobbs and Briscoe led everybody else across the line. Hobbs winning in 7:02, Briscoe with 7:10.
So a good early start to 2023 for Aaliyah Hobbs. 7:02 takes the win in Boston. and she's with Lewis Johnson.
With a big smile and the flowers as well. So after the introductions, we do know who you are. Right. Just tell us about the way you're running and how consistently fast you are so far this season.
I've been healthy for the first time. I was healthy last year. The second time I'm healthy. So I just know I'm healthy, put the race together. It all come out good.
It's going to be a long calendar year with those World Outdoor Championships in Budapest coming up later. How do you manage this early, quick speed and to try and maintain that into times where you're going to need it to make a team?
I just don't need to do too much. Don't do too little and stay healthy. That's it.
Okay, and keep smiling.
I will.
All right, Paul.
Champion, reigning Olympic champion, Katie Moon. Katie Moon, you say? That's Katie Najat. Well, lots happened in the last few weeks as Katie Najat became Mrs. Katie Moon with a beautiful ceremony with her husband, Hugo, as they celebrated one of life's great moments, captured by Amanda Skipper. And back to Katie Moon goes. First attempt at 14.7 1/4. Rumblings in her camp. She's ready to do something big this indoor season. Jen sure knew something about that, setting the world indoor record in Albuquerque at an indoor championships. That's just 2 weeks away. We'll check back to the action in the pole vault here shortly. Meantime, we're back to the track as we get set for the men's 400. You see the world record set by the U.S.'s Michael Norman, 44.52. We now have the reigning world indoor champion as Jareem Richards gets introduced. That was a big win for him last year in Europe to take that victory. Was an All-American at Alabama. So many of these international athletes coming out of the U.S. system of universities and colleges.
Yeah, and his event is the 200. And I've already told him he's gonna get my national record. He's that close and he's that consistent. Here's Vernon Norwood, who has Olympic gold and bronze in the relays with Team USA. And he figures to be somebody that will challenge Jareem Richards. They are friends. And here's the rest of the field.
See Francis in 2. Haydock Wilson of Great Britain in 3. And the American Noah Williams gets that high spot up in 6. Usually the way they're seated, the guys who are the favorite, women who are the favorites, like that sort of high lane because they can really come off that first turn.
Right, because everybody's here is going to be shooting for that cut-in mark as we get ready for this men's 400.
Two laps of this indoor oval in Boston constitutes the 400-meter distance. They'll stay in their lanes here for a period of time, but then, as we always love, the race to the rail coming up here for a position. There's not a lot of strategic places to make moves in the indoor track.
So you see everybody diving for the inside now. And it will be Richards, the guy with the most foot speed. He has the fastest 200 PR. So now, if you want to win this race, he is essentially saying you're going to have to come around me to do it. Norwood is close enough to be able to do that still.
Well, Norwood's going to try to get on his outside shoulder and kind of slingshot himself off that final turn as Richards now tied up just a little bit. Norwood on the outside, trying to get through, and then in on the inside, Noah Williams, as I think Richards was trying to hold off the outside of Norwood, and Williams says, thank you very much. The straightest line to the finish line is hugging the rail, and he takes the win.
Even the computer took a little while to figure this one out, because when I looked up at the board, it said Richards. Richards actually was second. It's the torso across the line that gets you your placing. And Richards had done good work through the first 350. It was that last 50 where he started to tie up really badly. Williams said, oh, you're going to leave the inside lane open. I'll gladly take that. So 45.88 for both of them. Norwood relegated to 3rd.
Well, we knew there was a good chance an LSU alum would win this race. It wasn't Vernon Norwood. It was actually Noah Williams, 3-time All-American, the 2021 NCAA champion, celebrating the win here as he squeaks one by 4/1000th of a second. And look who was at FanFest in Orlando just a couple of weeks ago. Noah Lyles. He's as popular in Europe as most of those athletes are in the Premier League, and He'll have a chance to show his stuff in Europe later on this season as we get set for the racing on the track. And we have the women's mile. Start with Heather McLean.
Heather McLean had a great end of her year last year, Paul. She struggled after the indoor season, but she came back so strong, setting personal best after personal best and ending the year as the fastest American over 1,500 meters. This is her home track, and she wants to defend it today.
And next to her, 32 years of age now, Emma Coburn, and heavy hearts around the sport of track and field for the Coburn family, as many who follow the sport, and she gets a wonderful ovation here. Learned of the loss of her mother, Annie, on January 7th. 8 major surgeries, 41 rounds of chemo during her 3-year battle with colon cancer. Emma has been very open and sharing how the family celebrated those last precious days with Annie, and will be in her heart today as she runs in what is often kind of her lone indoor appearance. She doesn't make a lot of appearances in the indoor season, but gets a chance to check in on her fitness level right now.
Yeah, and honestly, it's a chance for her to get back at what she loves and get back to normal.
Really said that she's been pouring her body and mind and heart into the thing that makes her happiest, which is running. So we look at the rest of this very talented field in the women's mile. No shortage of talent when you bring together international fields at this distance. As you look at some of the other names of note, note the Canadian Lucia Stafford, who could be in the mix here for something special.
She had an incredible run, a North American record in the 1,000 meters just recently. She returned to her old coach, and she's really feeling confident. She feels like the work she's been doing is really paying off, and she's back in a situation she feels comfortable with. We see a little pushing and shoving here when you get a lot of women on a small indoor track. That tends to happen.
Pace setter out in front is Corey McGee, made the World Championship final last year and part of a great training group that has been a solid part of U.S. distance running for so many years.
It's interesting to see McLean up front. She usually moves in the second half of the race. We typically see her move through the field in the second half, but she's going right on McGee right now, and she's setting herself up. She wants to set a statement. She wants to say, I am here. I'm one of the best 1,500-meter runners / milers in the world.
So McGee leads them down the backstretch. McLean, then it's the Canadian Stafford, and then Guerrero of Spain.
And this is pretty strung out right now, Paul. These women are running hard and fast. Everyone's single file. We see Gemma Reekie from the Great Britain there on the outside, moving out, trying to find a way to move up there. She's an excellent miler. We know her more as an 800-meter runner. She was 4th at the Olympic Games in the 800, but she has moved up in distance here and there. She is the British record holder in this event.
Just a stride or two behind Danny Jones, who was the standout at the University of Colorado. She's there in 5th, trying to hold off Reekie as they work their way around here to reach the halfway mark of this women's mile at the New Balance Indoor Grand Prix.
Some of these women are out here for the first time this year. Some of them are stepping down in distance or stepping up in distance. Indoors is always interesting like that, but that was a great job by Corey McGee, taking these women out hard and quick.
Emma Coburn still in the mix there, back in 8th position, but everyone trying to find room on the rail here as they've really started to string this out, and you can just feel the pace sort of quicken. And when that pace setter steps off, really shows kind of where these women are now thinking this is either a race against the clock or just a race against each other.
Yeah, well, this is where it gets exciting, right, Paul? The pacer is gone. They've been pulled out at a quick time, and now who will respond? Who will take that lead and push? We see Emma Coburn there. She did have good winter training, even though she was dealing with so much with her family. She went to her treadmill. That was her release, do her training. But we see up front McLean just looking so confident in a place we don't normally see her, just pushing from the beginning, leading this race.
Yeah, Coburn trying to get attention back to Tanaka of Japan, who's got about, a couple of strides back to Coburn. So it's a group of 6 here in the front, led by McLean, and then Stafford, Jones, Guerrero, and Reekie.
Stafford is in a very good position right now. She's been able to sort of ride this wave, sit back, be relaxed as long as possible. I'm not going to be surprised if she tries to make a move over the next 200 meters, tries to get up with McLean and maybe take the lead. But McLean looks so relaxed. She really has done a lot of this work, but there's no panic on her face, and her form is still very, very fluid.
And you see Guerrero now just trying to get past Danny Jones in that battle for third. The two-time Olympian from Spain now into third. Looking for room now maybe on the inside, but McLean and Stafford are going to give it a final go over the last 200.
And, you know, we saw Stafford try to come up on her shoulder there, but McLean responded, and she's really powering away with this thing. But we see Stafford again. She is in the shape of her life, and she wants to see what she can do here over this final 100 meters.
And she catches and goes by McLean. Does she have something to respond with here as Stafford now with the lead, closing in on the finish? On to the final stretch here. Stride for stride, and Heather McLean once again. Heather McLean as she wins this women's mile in fabulous fashion as they clear that last quarter mile in 64.68. Fabulous win here in Boston.
Unbelievable, Paul. And what a race out of McLean. She led so much of it, and when Stafford went by, we thought, oh, she's went by. She was going to really make that move and pull away, but McLean responded. We get to see it here. Stafford went by, and we know she's fit. We know she's in shape. She just set a North American record in the 1,000 meters, and we kind of thought maybe here she would power away, but McLean hung in there and was able to move on the outside in the final stretches, find a little bit more, and go home and win this title on her home track.
And look at them both gutting it out, just trying to get to the line, and Heather McLean takes the victory here. Fabulous race between the two of them. Stafford, the first to congratulate there. They go 1 and 2, a new personal best for Heather McLean as she takes the win here in the women's mile. Well, the crowd got on their feet for that one as the racing just getting heated up here on a very cold day in Boston. Heather McLean, the winner of the women's mile. Back in Boston as we get set for the 800-meter distance. As Otto Bolden joins me once again to look at the world and American records. And one of the top Americans in the field, Bryce Hoppel.
Yeah, he was the U.S. indoor and outdoor champion at this distance last year. He also made the Olympic team in 2021, getting as far as the semifinals in Tokyo.
Had a fabulous career at Kansas. She was almost unbeatable as a collegian. He's got a lot more talent to face here on this day, including the reigning European outdoor champion and world indoor champion, Mariano García of Spain.
And when he won that world indoor title in Belgrade last March, we had an inkling that something was coming that was going to be great from him outdoors. He didn't have a fantastic Worlds, just missing the final, but then he rebounded to win that European title for Spain. So he'll be in lane 4, Hoppel's in 5.
9 men in a outdoor 800 meters. Usually not a problem. A little bit busier on the track here with traffic in the first lap.
And let's just be honest, the United States 800-meter men have to get back on track at a time when the U.S. has, on the women's side, Olympic and world gold, and Ajay Wilson has world indoor gold. The U.S. men were almost non-existent last year, so we're looking to see the U.S. men get back on track in 2023.
First of 2 appearances for Eric Sawinski today. He's doing double duty as a pace hitter. Very talented 800-meter man in his own right. Graduate and All-American from the University of Iowa. He's kind of the go-to guy when you're looking for specific times for these early laps.
Yeah, he is considered the best pacer in the world, certainly the best pacer in America. And he's doing his job so far. 2 laps to go. 50.5 at the break.
That's a swift first couple of laps at 400. So let's see what Garcia has in mind here as they wind it up for the second half of this race at 800 meters.
And here is Bryce Hoppel right on cue as the pacemaker drops out, almost as if he said, we can't let this guy get too far ahead. But Garcia in the front still looks very full of run as Jewett, the former Trojan and Olympian for the U.S., steps up to try to at least contend with Garcia down the final backstretch.
Yeah, Jewett had a very frustrating year last year, was very disappointed. A restart opportunity here on the indoor circuit in 2023 as he goes after the reigning world indoor champion. And Garcia, here's the footsteps.
Never good when you see somebody look behind, but I think Garcia's up to the task. He is. Garcia will hold off Jewett for the win here in Boston.
And once again, Garcia has more in the engine than the rest of the field, but a good performance for Jewett there, a lifetime best in second as Garcia takes the victory here in Boston.
Yep, and that is just off the fastest time in the world, 1:45.0. So Garcia and Jewett will go home. That's a personal best for Jewett in that second place effort. They'll both go home happy with very swift 1:45 races this early in the season. But Garcia ran it the hard way, took the lead, followed the pacemaker, and dared anybody to come back and catch him. Nobody could. Jewett got closest.
There's that signature celebration from Garcia. Assume he's got to have a motorcycle. He does that every time he wins as he takes the victory here in 1:45.26. Again, a big outdoor season ahead for these men. There's a European Indoor Championship as well for those across the pond. And Garcia starting out his year the right way with a victory here at the track at New Balance. Well, shorter distances ahead with some hurdles in between as we'll see the reigning world champion Grant Holloway go up as again. Great when you're able to witness the greatest to have ever done it, and Schifrin is certainly one to pay attention to as she goes after record after record. We go after the records with the women's 3,000 meters, pretty good ones. Genzebe Dibaba of Ethiopia and Carissa Schweitzer. And here's another pretty good middle distance runner, and Laura Muir of Great Britain.
Laura Muir, we know her in the 1500 where she's an Olympic silver medalist and last summer clinched the bronze at the World Championships. But she is a very, very quick 3,000 meter runner as well. As we said earlier, sometimes athletes go up in distance during indoors, sometimes they go down. This is a strength run for her, but she's extremely talented, and she is definitely the one to beat.
And next to her from Ireland, Ciara McGeehan.
McGeehan had an unbelievable end to her season last year, running under 4 minutes in the 1500 for the first time and running 3:56, setting an Irish record. You know, she was a great junior runner, then she struggled for a while, and she really found her form right at the end of the year last year, and she's hoping to really roll that into 2023 and become the athlete she believes she is.
As we take another look at Muir, we'll be up at the top of that turn. It's a very busy field here, scheduled to have 16 runners. So this first lap, again, will be a little bit of traffic. Muir said in the press conference she's excited to be here for a week because she can run here in Boston and then go down and run the mile in New York.
Yeah, and then she's going to go attempt a record in the 1,000 meters back home in the UK. So she's planning a lot of racing over the next 3 weeks. And this is her first real test. She had been in South Africa altitude training, so this is her first time getting out there and seeing what type of fitness she has.
See some of the other names populating your screen. Pick out your favorites here as they'll settle in for the first of these few laps of the women's 3,000. Pace setting here up at the front by Holly Archer of Great Britain and Jennifer Nesbitt of Great Britain.
And Paul, this is a lot of women, again, like we said in the mile, a lot of women on the 3,000 on such a small track. That's why they ran that full lap around the outside before they were able to cut in. But as we see now, there hasn't been any bumping or tripping. Everyone's really found their place on the rail, and so we have a clean race ahead of us here.
Muir, who went to school to study to be a veterinarian, says she hasn't been able to have as much time to weave that into her work-life balance right now. But, you know, so many of these athletes, men and women, have so many things that they do outside of just their training. And some of them, you know, leading professional lives while they're trying to lead a professional life as a high elite runner.
Yeah, so many people have both worlds. I think Muir made the right decision to really focus on the running right now. It has certainly paid off for her the last 2 years. And Paul, the last time we saw her race together, together was at the 5th Avenue Mile, where she just absolutely destroyed the field, set a new record there. So she's such a powerful runner. I really enjoy watching her run. She's not afraid to go straight to the front and power her way. She doesn't worry about who's behind her. She just likes to sit up front and take control.
McGeehan, who we mentioned before the start of the race, leading that second group that's now a few seconds behind the leaders. Back there in third is Melissa Courtney Bryant of Great Britain. She was second to Muir last year at the 1,500-meter distance.
Yeah, I think we see a lot of 1,500-meter women in this 3,000 right now. Again, working on strength work. The winter is usually filled with a lot of over distance and strength work, so they usually want to come in and work through their strength training before they hit their speed. So a lot of times we see these women come out, and the men as well, and run a 3,000 to start their season.
World lead is 8:37.55. It's a long race at 3,000 meters. The good news is you won't miss a thing as we stay with the action right here in Boston during the break.
477. 2 more. Now 60 meters clear.
So Laura Muir continues to lead this race as we pick up the tail end of the action here at 3,000 meters. 2:51.24 for that first K as they've broken away from the rest of the field.
Yeah, they're running very, very fast. They're running 8:35 pace, which would be a huge personal best for Courtney Bryant. And she's sticking her nose in it. You know, she's obviously fit. What does she have to lose? This is sometimes where you have those breakthrough moments, but that's why we see this massive separation. Muir and Courtney Bryant are running so fast.
Yeah, Courtney Bryant's been training at altitude in Kenya. We see a lot of the athletes, even in the U.S., being at Flagstaff or Boulder. What's the advantage of coming down so quickly and trying to race?
You know, there is a lull period after you get down, so you really want to race either within pretty quick or, you know, a good 10 days after. So a lot of athletes will come down, race through that period, knowing that they're going to get the most benefit from that altitude training at that 10 to 14 days after they come down. So many distance athletes go to train up at altitude in the winter. They're doing a lot of strength training, and being up at altitude, it just hardens them and gives them even more of an advantage when they come down.
You saw Leah Meyer of Germany, a talented steeplechaser. Many steeplechasers on this track today, using this as kind of a warm-up at the distance they are comfortable with once they go to the barriers outdoors. But that is a group that includes Marta Perez of Spain, Hannah Nuttall of Great Britain, Katie Snowden, kind of a United Nations of 3,000-meter runners here, all in chase to Laura Muir and Courtney Bryant, as they are way ahead of this field now. You look at the difference between that. It's almost 14 seconds.
It's really incredible. And we see Laura Muir just starting to get a little daylight, starting to pull away a little bit, but you see how she just always is pumping. She really is a powerful runner. It's really enjoyable to watch her, to see someone power through, not be afraid to put it on the line early on. And that's why people like to race with her. She pulls them to good times. She pulls them to incredible performances. But we see her right now. This is about the most relaxed I've ever seen her since we're used to watching her in a 1,500. But even in this quote-unquote slower pace, we still see the power in her stride.
Yeah, match that first kilometer of 2:51.24 with a second kilometer of 2:51.78, doing it basically all by herself.
She is doing it all by herself. And Courtney Bryant needs to keep herself together because she's en route to an incredible PR. Even if Muir pulls away from her right now, she needs to stay the course because she is running an extremely fast time herself. But yes, Muir is just an unbelievable athlete, and she's, like we've said, she's not afraid to go out there and do the work.
Well, she's not been afraid at major global championships to go after a couple of different distances, though she said the other day at the press conference, maybe this year might be more of a one-trick kind of decision and stay within one race and try to go after another medal.
Yeah, you know, I think she has to race quite possibly the greatest of all time in Faith Kipyegon in the 1,500, but she knows she can be there. She knows she's a two-time medalist now at Worlds and at the Olympics. She knows she deserves to be there and she belongs, and I'm sure she dreams of her own gold medal.
Less than 3 laps of the track remaining here at the track at New Balance, this brand new facility, welcoming these world's greatest track and field athletes for the very first time. And Laura Muir is putting on what she hopes will be the first of 2 shows in the Northeast, a limited engagement for those who want to watch it. And if you're impressed by what you see her, just wait till she's in the armory racing the mile next week.
Well, now she's starting to pick it up. She's able to see people in front of her. She's actually coming around to lap athletes, and that's giving her a little something to set her eyes on. It is so hard to run these hard, fast times by yourself. It actually helps her now to be able to look up and see someone and work on that to close that gap to keep her pace going.
And credit to Melissa Courtney Bryant trying to stay within at least 15, maybe 20 meters now of Laura Muir as they're coming into the end of the penultimate lap of this women's 3,000 meters. Look at the crowd filled to the rafters here in Boston as they'll hear the bell with 1 lap to go.
And this is where we see Laura Muir. We can see the struggle on her face, but she just keeps pushing. She just keeps hammering away. She's such a powerful athlete. And Courtney Bryant hasn't given her a ton of room. I mean, we know that Muir is going to take this one, but she's running an excellent race for herself. Sometimes you have to risk it. You have to go with the greats. That's how you make a leap forward in your own career.
8:37.55 is the fastest time in the world this year. You can see the expression on Laura Muir's face. She is very happy now to be seeing the finish line. It'll be just above that world best in 2023, but a successful debut for her in Boston as she takes the win over 3,000 meters.
It was a great race out of her, but an incredible finish out of Courtney Bryant there. Muir was a little tired. She was starting to tie up a little bit, and Courtney Bryant just kept coming and coming and finished right behind her there, very close.
Yeah, Melissa Courtney Bryant second in 8:41.09, just a shade off of her lifetime best. As athletes from Great Britain populate the first 4 spots here in the 3,000, and it becomes just remarkable. These are all very elite level talents in their respective events, but Laura Muir today just not only a step but several strides above the rest.
And I think we see it in the confidence in the way she races. She's not afraid to put herself out there, to have the target on her back, so to speak. She just goes out there and is willing to just do the work and put herself in the hurt locker. She wants to run hard every time she steps to the line.
So you see the final results here through the top 10. Millie Palladino was the top American finisher, finishing back in 13th position. And as we get set for them to convert this track, and they have to actually bring down part of the top turn because we're going to go to the straightaway races here in a moment, it's time to check in with somebody who has a very important role in the sport of track and field, both in the U.S. and the sport of athletics abroad. Lewis Johnson is down with the president of World Athletics, Lord Sebastian Coe.
All right, thanks very much. This is exciting to have you here, Lord Coe. Hopefully everything's going well. You're staying warm. We are now on this journey in 2023 toward this 10-day track and field extravaganza, the World Outdoor Championships in Budapest. But tell me your thoughts on the importance of what we're experiencing right now, these one-day meets here domestically and around the world.
Today was staying warm. I'll give you that. That's pretty brutal out there. But no, look, this is fantastic. I'm not actually sure where I'm able to start because the track meet's a world-class track meet, and this is a world-class facility, and I love the training venue here as well. And this is a great stepping stone. Many of these athletes, we've just seen Laura Muir ripping up the pace at 3K. A lot of these athletes, this is the first stepping stone to Budapest, a world championship. You've got some here that are specialist indoor runners, and they'll think that this is the bespoke part of their season, but for many this is the stepping stone, and having a really vibrant indoor circuit is hugely important.
Yeah. Seb, you won 4 medals, 4 Olympic medals for Great Britain, 2 gold in the 1,500 meters. And I'm wondering, how important was indoor running for you in your career?
It was really important. I did a lot of indoor racing. I won a European title and broke some world records. But the most important thing for me about indoors was I never wanted to feel that far away from competition. The problem with the outdoor track season is it sort of finishes, peters out in September. There's not much that happens anywhere in the world until May. You do need to smell the changing room between that period and feel that competition is, you're not too far away from competition. So for me, it was about staying mentally in shape and also building physicality.
Yeah, smell the changing room and hear the roar of an indoor crowd like that. It's pretty good stuff.
And it is great because you get an intimacy in an indoor meet that you rarely get outdoors, and it just brings the crowd closer to the athletes and the athletes closer to the fans.
Excellent. Seb, great to see you. Look forward to a great season.
Always good to be here. Thank you.
You got it. Paul?
Thanks very much, Lewis. Yes, this is a fabulous edition for world-class venues around the globe. And again, a reminder, we'll be right here, same channel, same time for the Millrose Games next week, with many of these athletes performing there as well. Time now for the Viva Tequila Seltzer men's 60-meter hurdles final, and gives us an opportunity to showcase the world record holder indoors, the world indoor champion, but many would know him also as a pretty good outdoor runner.
He had already won the world title back in 2019, so here he was last summer in defense of that title, and it really was no contest. The guy on your left you'll see in this final as well, that is Trey Cunningham, but it was all Grant Holloway as he won his second consecutive world outdoor title, and Cunningham celebrated his silver in Eugene last year as well.
So Holloway, at 25 years of age, won that world indoor title last year and equaled his world record in that event of 7:29. And there is the aforementioned Trey Cunningham. He comes off a year where he was a prolific racer because he had to. He was a collegiate athlete, long season. Now he is a full-time pro and is running fewer races.
So let's get a look at the field. He is Braverman, third in the 110 hurdles outdoor at the 2022 Big Ten Outdoor Championships. He competed for Iowa.
Next up in lane number 2 out of Atlanta, Georgia, Robert Dunning, who competed collegiately at Alabama, was the NCAA outdoor champion back in 2021.
Freddie Crittenden will be in lane 3. He was 4th at the 2019 U.S. Championships outdoor, just missing a spot on Worlds. He's consistent, but still looking for his first U.S. team outdoors.
Wine connoisseur, loves good food and culture, also loves to put on a show. Grant Holloway is the favorite in lane 4.
And we expect a show here out of Holloway in lane 4. Here is his collegiate rival and now his pro rival, Daniel Roberts, who actually won U.S. Outdoors last year, but he has had awful luck when he gets to championships.
And he is wedged in between those two medalists from the U.S. Outdoors. Trey Cunningham, just 24 years of age, from Winfield, Alabama.
Jalen McConaughey will be in lane 7. He was 6th in the 60-meter hurdles at the U.S. Indoors last year in Spokane. 2nd at the NCAAs.
And here's a talented product of the Division II ranks. Lewis Rollins was the D2 champion for Pittsburgh State last year.
So Grant Holloway is on quite a streak. It's not quite the 122 races in a row that Edwin Moses gave us over 10 years back in the day at 400-meter hurdles. But the guy on your screen has not lost in this event since 2014. How long ago was 2014? Pharrell's Happy was the song that everybody got an earful of in that year. But let's just say Grant doesn't lose ever in this event. But there are two guys to his left and to his right here, Roberts and Cunningham, who can challenge if Holloway does not have a good race.
Yeah, that streak goes back to high school.
Wow.
Showing how dominant Grant Holloway has been. And he is center stage, lane 4 in the men's 60-meter hurdles. And to the first hurdle he goes with the lead, and will carry that lead over these 5 hurdles to the finish. It's a quick one, 7:39.
The world record holder in this event reminds you why he has not lost one of these races indoors in 9 years now, because he didn't get a particularly good reaction to the gun here. Didn't matter. So there he is, fourth from the right. We usually see him first to the first hurdle. That wasn't the case today, but so much speed in between. Roberts got closest. But Grant Holloway, what can we say about the guy who, there's no question, he is the greatest ever at this 60-meter hurdle indoor event. He has the world record. He has the fastest times ever in this event. And now this is quite a streak. Now 59 58 races in a row for Holloway, dating back to 2014.
You kind of lose count after a while, but it's a record streak to keep watching, and it keeps going as it was rounded down to 7:38, the fastest time in the world, and he's done it twice in one day. Grant Holloway, who's with Lewis.
Excellent running. Grant, when we look at that replay, it looks like perfection to us. What did it look like to you?
We'll go back and we'll review the film. And
you just saw it. What did you think?
I wasn't really watching. I was looking at everybody else. But we'll go back, we'll review the film, and we'll have a little bit more fun come the rest of the tour.
All righty. When we go back and look at this from the start, do you think you had the best start you could have had? Because, again, the finishing time is tremendous.
No, not the best start I've ever had, but, with 3 weeks into hurdling, that's a great start. And just stay consistent in that 7.3 range is real good. So come back later, and we'll reevaluate and have some more fun.
My colleagues are talking about just the streak you're on from high school. I mean, you haven't lost this race in many, many years. How do you continue the dominance indoor?
Yeah, the streak is for you guys. My job is to come out here, do what I do best, and Otto's going to hate me for saying it, but execute at a high level. I know I haven't been doing it, so, I'm going to try to figure it out a little bit more, but as we go forward, just continue to grow in the sport and continue to evolve it.
Well, Otto's a coach, so he'll understand that execute at a high level deal. Great job, Grant.
I appreciate it. Thank you.
Otto, you got that, right?
Yeah, and the reason he's saying that is I told him in the offseason, I said, can you do an interview this year and not say execute at a high level? That's my challenge. Well, challenge failed, Grant Holloway, but what an amazing performer at 60-meter hurdles.
58 times in a row, this man crosses the line first. A win in Boston for Grant Holloway. It was at 500 meters that we started the show. Otto Bolden and Femke Bol did not disappoint.
No, she did not. She's the silver medalist from Worlds last year. She's the Olympic bronze medalist, but today she was first across the line, the first woman ever under 106 flat. And we started the day with a world record at 500 meters as we get ready now for the women's 60-meter hurdles final.
Look at the world and American records. A world champion outdoors in Beijing in 2015, Danielle Williams.
And then she backed it up with bronze at the 2019 World, 6th last summer at the World Championships. Here is Sharika Nelvis, twice a U.S. indoor champion back in 2018 and 2019. She made the World Championship 2015 final where she finished in 8th. And this is Lolo Jones, twice the 60-meter hurdle world indoor champion, 3-time Olympian, twice for summer and once for the Winter Olympics in the bobsled. But she said back because she likes a challenge. She retired from the sport, came back a day and a half later. Even Tom Brady can't do that.
And now 40 years of age is Lolo Jones, 3-time Olympian, twice in the Summer Olympics and once in the Winter Games in the bobsled.
That's the kind of field where it's pretty wide open. So it should make for a very interesting race.
Williams in 4 60-meter hurdles final. And in lane 6, that's Charlton of the Bahamas, who's had a good start to her year. Nelvis trying to catch her, but not going to do it. The Bahamian record holder in a season's best, 7:87, takes down the field here in Boston.
She had a good year last year, including at the World Indoor Championships in Belgrade, and she has picked up where she left off. She also made the World Championship outdoor final in Eugene. The Bahamians are very excited about Devynne Charlton because she has taken up sort of the legacy of very good Bahamian hurdlers. So she is 3rd from the left, and man, was she out quickly, but then she had to hold off Nelvis and Williams to her left. She did that and gets a 7:87 season's best. Her personal best is 7:81, so she's in good form and confirms that with this 7:87 win. Here, Nelvis in 2nd.
Was a standout collegially at Purdue University, and she takes the win. You saw Lolo Jones hit a hurdle. I think she had the one battle with the hurdle there and wound up finishing in 8th position in 8:55.
This is an event that I think saw a changing of the guard last year at Worlds. 2 of the 3 women that got medals were doing so for the very first time in their pro careers.
Maybe cold outside, but it was warm enough for a Bahamian to take the victory in the women's 60-meter hurdle. Let's check in on the women's pole vault competition. Share with you the news that Katie Najat is now Katie Moon after getting married in the holiday season. Struggled a little bit here in her first indoor competition. We'll see her again at Millrose next week. She bowed out of the competition and wound up in 4th. Here's Bridget Williams. You know, she had a great indoor season last year. 3rd at the U.S. Indoor Championships, 7th in the Outdoor Championships. And the All-American at Virginia was enjoying her day as she cleared 15.5 1/2, and then a 3rd attempt at 15.7 3/4. All you need is to have that bar stay on the standards, and from high above, banged it a couple of times pretty good, but stays. And the first to congratulate her is the reigning Olympic and world champion Katie Moon, as Bridget Williams wins the women's pole vault here in Boston. Setting up our next race on the track, it'll be 4 laps of this 200-meter oval for the women at 800 meters.
We talked about Grant Holloway's impressive streak in the 60-meter hurdles. Well, there's a young lady in this field, Ajay Wilson, who is riding quite a streak of her own. She has not lost a race indoors since March 2018, and she's the reigning world indoor champion in this event, even though her outdoor worlds did not go quite as well.
And she has a longer streak at the Armory, where she'll race again next week at Millrose. And Christy Schofield.
She turned pro last year late, ran for Boise State after winning the NCAA title outdoors last year.
Now being coached by U.S. Olympian at the marathon distance, Mark Coogan, here in Boston. Look at the rest of the field in this women's 800 meters. Battle between the U.S. and Great Britain, but Ajay Wilson putting that streak on the line, and probably watched Holloway's race and said, well, if you're going to keep your streak going, I'm going to do the same here. So 4 laps of this 200-meter track in Boston. The crowd still filling the stands here. Just a great turnout on a very cold afternoon in the Northeast, as they'll work their way around to this final turn, and then they'll hit the cones there across the lanes. And now the race to the inside with Gemma Finch, the pacer here, going through the first couple of laps. And Ajay Wilson now has some company alongside her in Kayla Edwards, who is a standout at Oklahoma State and has been kind of battling back. She was diagnosed with Graves' disease back in 2021 and is kind of learning how to cope with and manage that disease, and still running at a high-class level.
And the U.S. 800-meter women, I mentioned it during the men's race, have been doing so well. Athingmo is the world and Olympic champion outdoors. Ajay Wilson is the world indoor champion. And remember, the United States got 2 out of the 3 medals at the Tokyo Olympics. So the U.S. women continuing to run well at this 800-meter distance, as Ajay Wilson decides that she has had enough of being in the back, and now she strikes out for the lead. She's in second now.
Really have never seen Ajay Wilson panic on a track, and she's not panicking here and continues to reel in Edwards. A streak that has lasted almost 5 indoor seasons being put on the line here. She'll have to catch Edwards at the end to win here in Boston.
She's just making it dramatic, as now she has first place in her sights, and she's doing the work down the back stretch to try to get past Edwards, but Edwards not relinquishing the lead just yet.
Coming off the final turn, and here comes Ajay Wilson. Slingshot off the bank, and the streak continues here as she wins. And a quick one, just a shade over that 2-minute mark, and Edwards finishes second.
That's the second fastest time in the world this year, and Ajay Wilson's streak is intact. Edwards' reward for doing all that front running, very brave of her, is a personal best 2:01.09, and the U.S.-UK battle continues as Boffey gets bronze for Great Britain. But Ajay Wilson, as you said, never panics indoors because she knows that when she goes for her kick, it's always there, at least indoors. The world indoor champion gets her 2023 TV season off to a win. She's already won at the Armory, and we'll see her next week on NBC for the Millrose Games as well.
And we'll hear from her now. She's with Lewis.
All right, Grant Holloway with the long streak going. It's been since March of 2018. You've been undefeated. So what are your thoughts maybe in the last half lap about trying to make sure you keep that streak alive and get yourself a win tonight?
Yeah, coming into the last lap, I wanted to be a little bit closer. And, you know, I knew that I could close in 29:30, so I knew I had to be a little bit closer so I could get the job done.
You come off a big year like last year. Now here you are with another World Championships on the horizon. How do you manage these indoor seasons and try and keep yourself fresh, ready for the bigger meets outdoor?
Yeah, it's all about timing. You know, we've been doing this for a while, so indoors is always a part of our schedule. And it just helps us build towards outdoors and breaks up training a little bit.
Still having fun doing this?
I am.
I can tell. Ajay, thank you.
Thank you.
And we look forward to seeing Ajay Wilson up in Washington Heights next week at the Millrose Games. But we'll get into recovery now and wave thanks to the crowd taking that win at 800 meters. We've seen a lot of great action here in our broadcast window. There was a few races just beforehand in Carragoucher, the Junior Boys International Mile. It was a race between Rocky Hansen and Connor Burns, and Hansen made the move here and just missed a sub-4.
He just missed it. He came around that corner coming hard. It wasn't meant to be, but a great race out of him.
And one of the great things about this facility is it will host a lot of high school events. They have a New Balance Indoor National Championship that will be held in March. And Rocky Hansen of Hendersonville, North Carolina, takes the win and gets the bouquet. And it looked like it took a lot out of him as well as he won that Boys International Mile. Speaking of the mile distance, the men are out on the track as we get set for racing here in Boston. And we're going to start with Josh Thompson of the United States.
Josh Thompson was the sole American in the final at the World Championships last year in Eugene. He has an insane last 100, Paul. And so if he can be in the mix, he usually can find that room and come through. Can he now start to lead races and be in the front earlier on?
And why do we always showcase those high school races? To give you a sense of who the next generation of great athletes will be. Well, this man, Hobbs Kessler, just 19, and he's now an elite miler on the pro level.
I have to remind myself that he's only 19 because 2 years ago he set the world on fire. He set the high school indoor mile U.S. record. He set the outdoor 1,500 meter record by almost 4 seconds, taking that from Alan Webb. He's still so young. He's still learning the sport and learning the event, but he's on a high right now. Ran a very impressive 3K last weekend. We know the strength is there. Now we get to see the speed.
3:53.53 by Louis Grijalva is the current world lead in this race, and this group certainly capable of that kind of speed indoors. And Kessler getting a nice response from the crowd, part of that very nice track club up in Michigan.
It's probably my favorite name of a track club, the Very Nice Track Club. It's just so great. But, you know, he's still learning. Like you said, he's only 19 years old, but things seem to be coming together for him.
Number 2 on the all-time list in U.S. history in this event is Johnny Gregorek. And Gregorek grew up in this area, and we've had a number of athletes who have had this opportunity to be near where they got their running chops. He's from Seekonk, Massachusetts, currently at Suffolk University Law School in Boston. And look who's back on the track. At least he changed outfits. Eric Sawinski back to do some pacing here for the men's mile.
He's back. This is what he's great at. You know, he had an incredible career on his own, but as a pacer, he really has done a great job. And we see them a little bunched here, which makes me think that perhaps they're out a little slow, or they were really quick off the line and then settled in.
So you see Sawinski, and then the New Zealander Sam Tanner, who ran collegially at the University of Washington. Neil Gorley, who was an All-American at Virginia Tech, native of Scotland, the tall figure in third. And then Sam Franklin, the United States, and Gregorek, a pair of University of Oregon All-Americans.
Yes, and Gregorek was at the World Championships last summer. He was eliminated in the semis. It's kind of fun. He and his father are both sub 4-minute performers, and also in this race we have Cruz Culpepper, who has also run under 4 minutes, and his dad, Alan Culpepper, Olympian, did as well. So a little bit of American history in this mile right now.
Never called Johnny Gregoric John, because they've separated. It's kind of like Matt and Matthew Centrowitz. They have their own way of saying their name. And as we have 5 laps to go here in the men's mile, our pace setter Sawinski leading the crew that includes Tanner and Brakel, Gorley, Gregoric, and then back to Vermeulen, back in 6th.
And we see separation now, Paul. We know that they are running hard. They were through that first quarter in 57 seconds, which is quite fast. So now we see this race really stretching out, and we'll see what happens when Sawinski steps off. Does Tanner continue to lead and push this pace? What will happen? We'll see.
You can tell the 800-meter guy's leading the race because he wants this race for him to end, and it will end right here at the top of the last turn. And so Tanner now drives this group of 6 men to the line.
You know, this is a good opportunity for some of these men to really step up and win a big race. You know, they're kind of in that undercurrent of just almost being at that elite level. This is a great opportunity for them to come in here, perform well, and show that they are ready to move on and be finalists at World Championships and Olympic Games.
So a look at Tanner. New Zealand indoor mile record is Nick Willis's 3:51.06. Tanner's talked about trying to go after some of those records in the next phases of his career. Coscarin of Ireland has now moved up into 3rd behind Gorley, and Vermeulen now slipping alongside Gregoric, moving into the top 5 just behind Brakel.
I've liked where Gorley's been almost this entire race, Paul. He's just been on the rail, sitting back and waiting and waiting. They have a little over a lap and a half to go here, and he's been waiting.
See also Luke McCann of Ireland, the national indoor 1500-meter champion last year, moving up now into 4th. As we hear the bell, this is going to be a good spirited last lap of the track with a lot of guys trying to chase down this mile title. Tanner and Coscarin down the backstretch for the final time.
Well, there's fireworks now, Paul. You see they're moving out into the outside lanes. That's how much they are bunched right here as they head around this final bend.
So it's Tanner, Coscarin, Gorley, and Brakel. Everyone looking for room to run. And Tanner speeds it up. Gorley with a long stride. And Gorley's going to try to win it at the line. As we'll let the cameras do the decision-making here. That one close to the finish. And it is now showing that Coscarin has won this race at 3:52.84. which would be the fastest time in the world this year. And while the folks up in the finish line check room do their due diligence, we see it from the line as Gorley now leaning out, and now they're reassessing it. It now shows Neil Gorley with the win, and I think maybe that last push of his torso to the line gets him past Tanner. But let's look back from about 100 meters out.
You know, I thought he ran such a good, smart race, but then he got a little boxed in with less than 50 meters to go, but he found the room and he was able to move up on the outside and get through for the win.
See Tanner looking up, trying to get a gauge of where that competition is, and realizes just at the line that Gorley has stretched it out, and Tanner says, oh man, you got me.
I know, how friendly. He did so much work, and he's like, well, good job. But that was a great race out of both of them. Those finishes are so exciting, what we like to see.
Well, Tanner and Gorley, they're looking up at the scoreboards now that reflects a difference of 1/100th of a second. Neil Gorley is the winner. First of two fabulous miles. We'll see back-to-back weekends with the Wanamaker's in New York in a week's time. Tanner with a new lifetime best, and the top American finish goes to Sam Brakel in third. Well, we have a need for speed coming up next. Noah Lyles, the headliner in the men's 60 meters. That final coming up after the break as he takes on the former world indoor champion, Trayvon Bromell. Well, that's what 1/100th of a second looks like in the battle for that win at the mile distance. Neil Gorley with the arm outstretched got the first portion of his torso to the line ahead of Sam Tanner, and he takes the victory. As they point to the scoreboard as they were watching that result in real time. All right, middle of the track now we go. Straightaway speed for the USATF men's 60-meter final. And let's meet the field here as Demek Kemp, U.S. champion back in 2019, will draw lane 1.
Out next will be Miles Lewis of Puerto Rico. He's a Puerto Rican 100-meter champion. He also has the Puerto Rican record in this event. He was 3rd in his heat to get here.
In lane 3, he was a Division II standout at West Texas A&M University. Now represents Ghana, Benjamin Azamadi.
Next out is Kendall Williams, 2nd in his heat to get here. And he could contend if he has a good race. He has a personal best of 6:51. I expect the winning time to be in that range.
Next up is Michael Campbell. He reached the semifinals last year at the Jamaican Championships at 100 meters.
And next is the guy who we think is the favorite. And that's by virtue of how much experience he has here and his personal best. And you hear the crowd, they know it. Trayvon Bromell will start out of lane 5. The world indoor champion in this event back in 2016. He was the bronze medalist at Worlds last year.
And somebody who enjoys the opportunity to be introduced in front of a big crowd.
A little bit.
Now, some really thoughtful discussions at the news conference, of which was led by Noah Lyles, about things you would do to help the sport. And he was saying that, you know, these indoor meets matter, and the proximity of the fans, and just getting that energy going early on in the year.
Noah Lyles had the best 200-meter season in terms of average time ever last season. He was undefeated, and he was adjudged the USA Track and Field U.S. Male Athlete of the Year. He also made the Forbes 30 under 30, so he's coming off of a spectacular 2022. We mentioned his taking down of Michael Johnson's 200-meter outdoor American record. But he will not start as favorite here. I'm looking to see, in fact, how close he can get to Trayvon Bromell. He's a finisher. Bromell is a starter. Bromell is one of the best starters in the world still. He'll be in lane 5 with Lyles right next to him in 4.
And when we go wide, you'll see an empty lane. That's going to be lane 7, where Terrence Laird was scheduled to run, but he was a late scratch. The USATF men's 60-meter final. And Bromell gets a step on the world champion at 200 meters. Can he hold him off at the end? They're going to be there at the line almost together.
Well, we told you starter versus finisher, and finisher got the better of the starter. The winning time both will run 6:51, and that is a personal best for Noah Lyles, and that's why he's celebrating so exuberantly.
And that one, they had to go out to the 1,000th of a second, 2,000th of a second separated. So a guy who has said this year is all about the outdoor double, 100 and 200 meters. Nice way to start the year.
And he's interested in that outdoor double for Worlds in Hungary this year, because he really wants to be on Team USA next year for the Olympic Games in Paris at both 100 and 200. He didn't get the 100-meter berth in 2021 and then went to Tokyo and got the bronze in the 200, but we saw some shades of this acceleration when he won his heat. Again, once he is close, he has a chance, and he had a better start than he did in the semi, and that's why he was able to catch Trayvon Bromell just at the line. 6:51, excuse me, personal best, and Trayvon Bromell will get a good laugh with him out of this, because he knew that Noah Lyles was coming, but Lyles was actually able to catch him on the line.
You see the final results. Noah Lyles starts the indoor season with a new lifetime best, 2,000th of a second. The victory against Trayvon Bromell, and Lewis Johnson is with both members of the 651 club.
You can't separate them at the finish, and now the interview as well. First to you, it was a great start, but an even better finish. Take me back to that, Noah.
Man, woo! I've been waiting on this for a long time, man. To see me get so much closer to 6'4". Every time I watch Christian and Trayvon run them 60s, and I'm in there and I feel like I'm always watching behind. I'm like, no, I got to be in it. This is my journey to the 100. I got to be in it.
You were in it. And Trayvon, your start again was so incredibly hot. What does a race like this mean to you in the competition between you guys so early here in the season?
For me, I'm kind of disappointed with my race. I feel like I could have done better, but at the end of the day, I got to just take it on the chin. I got to keep going. So for me, I just take it to the drawing board and get ready for USA's.
All righty. You've been talking so much about a lot of things. This last season was incredible. Now you're talking about this outdoor double. Where does this race today play into the bigger picture for 2023?
I mean, last year I moved my PR to 6:55, and now I'm moving into 6:51. You know, I think we all saw the difference that made. That's 19.5 to 19.3. So now, what's that 19.3 to a world record?
Wow.
Double?
Incredible.
No, we're not just coming for the 200-meter world record. Coming for all the world records.
And you still have time for all the fashion blogging and all the things you're doing with that. How much fun are you having away from track when we don't see you?
Too much fun. Too much fun. I'm very blessed to have a life like this.
Already. Noah, Trayvon, guys, thank you so much. Great run.
Sure. No problem.
So don't think, Paul, that every one of Noah Lyle's competitors will not look at this race and go, uh-oh, because he's improved his turn. I know there are a lot of people who think Usain Bolt's 19:19 200-meter outdoor world record is impossible. He's within 0.12 of a second now, and he's getting faster, and he's improving the one thing that's always been his weakness, and that is his shorter sprinting. When you run by Trayvon Bromell, good race or not, Noah Lyles looks like the work that he is doing in practice in Orlando is paying off. It's going to make his 200 faster. You heard him reference that. But it's going to also make his 100 faster. So don't look now. The 100 meters outdoors with Michael Norman stepping into the 100, Fred Curley in the 100 now, and now this guy looks like he is going to be more of a factor than we've seen him in recent years at 100 meters, certainly on the domestic scene.
And when you've reached the plateau, not a plateau, but you've reached the top of the podium again, I mean, you're looking for more motivation. You can see in his reaction to this time, this was a piece of that motivation for this year.
It's important to him, and it's why we love Noah, because he is never shy about this is what I'm getting ready for. You heard him say, I've run against Noah and these guys, I've run against Trayvon and these guys for so often from the back. Now I'm close to running my goal, which is a 6'4", a tremendous performance by the American record holder at 200 meters outdoors, Noah Lyles.
Otto will be back with me for the final race of the day, the women's 3,000. But in between that, we'll go back up to the 3,000-meter distance, the New Balance men's 3,000. And Kara Goucher, we talked about it at the very outset of the show. Woody Kincaid might want to just move to Boston because he had just a fabulous week last week, setting an American record.
Not only was it an American record, but it was also the 4th fastest 5,000 meters indoor of all time. You know, he lost his father late 2021. 2022 was a little up and down. He had to drop out of the 10,000 meters at the U.S. Championships, but he is on a roll in 2023.
And he's going to get a good challenge today from the Ethiopian EE.UU.
Uhune is the fastest man in this field, and he's only 19 years old. Very, very young, likes to compete, likes to sit back and kick, just like Woody Kincaid.
19 years of age, World U20 last year, was in Cali, Colombia, and he won at 5,000 meters. Held the line there for just a bit. This meet has always, over the years, featured some of the top Ethiopian athletes here, so it's nice to see the next generation follow in Uhune. And here is now the rest of the field. Some fairly talented people on this track, the likes of former NCAA champion at 10,000 meters, the Canadian Ben Flanagan. You see Mason Furlick, also from the University of Michigan, was an Olympian for the U.S. in the steeplechase. Woody Kincaid coming in as the American favorite, going through, like you said, you know, a lot of ups and downs, and then a transition in training, and just trying to find, kind of looking for a new groove.
Yeah, he's 30 years old. He was feeling a little stale. He wants to see what else he can do. He knows he doesn't have unlimited time. You know, right now he's sort of in limbo and coaching and the group he's going to be training with, but obviously it's working for him because he set an American record just a week ago.
And he settles in beside the pace setter Ben Allen, and then Uhune
And both Woody and Yehune, they like to race. So they want to sit in there. They're going to follow the pacemaker, but they really like to race. And that's what Dan Lilo, Kincaid's agent, told me yesterday. That American record came because he was just racing. He was racing. Joe Klecker was going after a fast time, and he sat there. And both of these men like to race. They're not so fixated on the clock.
The tallest of the group in the top 4 is in 4th. That's Christian Noble. We've mentioned a lot of D2 programs over the course of this broadcast. He was a standout national champion at Lee University in Tennessee. And, you know, again, that's the beauty of this sport. You don't have to land yourself in a Power 5 program to become an elite professional.
Absolutely not. What you do in high school does not mean what is going to happen later on down the road. This is a great opportunity for so many of these men to get in these races indoors, to race against some of the best, you know, feel their way out, get new personal bests, and move up in the field of distance runners. This is a fun race to watch right now because we have steeplechasers, milers, 10,000 meter runners, 5,000 meter runners, and they're all on the track together trying to run a good 3,000. This is a cool event to watch.
Yehune has lost a little bit of contact with Allen, who is doing the pacing, but you can see that single file line out as they keep the pace here quick early on in this 3,000 meters.
The pace was to be about 30.5 seconds per lap, which would bring them around pretty quick. It looks like they're a little behind that right now. And it seems like the field is okay to let that slip away a little bit. It seems like they're content to sort of sit around, watch each other, and work on their racing skills.
The group behind starts to pack up a little bit. We're going to step aside, but you won't miss a thing. Continuing coverage here, almost a fall, but keep watching the action. We'll be right back. Racing continues here in Boston, the penultimate event of this 2023 New Balance Indoor Grand Prix at this very new track at New Balance. Ben Allen is the leader, and then behind him, the Irishman Brian Fay of the University of Washington. Coach Andy Powell up in the Northwest has had some phenomenal success indoors with his squad. In fact, they had like 8 guys run sub-4 minute miles the other weekend, and brought their group out to run some races here in Boston and threw Fay into the mix here at New Balance.
This is a great opportunity for Fay to test himself against some of the best. You know, test yourself outside of the collegiate system, and he's going for it. You know, he saw that the pace had settled a little bit. He saw that some of the favorites weren't pressing the way he thought they were going to, and he's taking a chance on himself right now, going up there and leading this and seeing what he can get.
And it looks like the Ethiopian Yehune is out of the race now, so Fay is the leader, then Noble, and then McElhenney of Ireland. And don't any of those guys not pay attention to the guy in 4th, Woody Kincaid, now the American record holder indoors at 5,000 meters, and his close is silent and dead.
It's truly amazing, and the thing with Kincaid is if he can hang on there through the painful parts of the, you know, the middle and the 3/4 part of the race, then he hits, you know, he's just able to flip a switch that no one else can. And so if he can hang in here, hang in through these rough parts, he sniffs that hay in the barn, and he really just unleashes. His form completely changes. And of course, we're hoping we'll get to see him do that here tonight.
Behind him is Morgan Beatlescombe, ranked collegiately at Michigan State, staying in the mix here, back in 5th position, just ahead of Michigan grad Ben Flanagan, and then James West of Great Britain behind him. But Fay, the collegian, lead in this race now. Noble in tow with McElhenney and Kincaid. Now here comes Flanagan alongside Kincaid. He says, not so fast, and maybe now kicks into gear, and a little bit of elbowing going on here as everyone tries to find room to run inside 3 laps to go.
I think they all know that a change of gears is coming, and they want to be there. They want to make sure they're in good position so they can match it and watch it and be ready when it happens. That's why we see a little pushing going on in the field right now, and we see Kincaid moving up. He's content to run on the outside there. He's not worried about running extra distance. He wants to make sure that he is in good position when the kicking starts.
Well, again, this group packing up again. It's no longer single file, but everyone gearing up. This is outdoors the last lap, but it's 2 laps of this indoor track.
Sometimes because of that, you can miscalculate your kicking because you're used to kicking at the bell, and we see Kincaid go now, but
that's Beatles go now to the lead. Yeah,
he's decided to push. He knows, just like we were just saying, there's only less than 400 meters to go. You don't hear that normal bell lap. There's only going to be 200 meters when they go. But Paul, this is Kincaid right here
at the bell. New gear for a new leader, Woody Kincaid, as he flies down the backstretch.
And look at that instant daylight. This is what he's brilliant at. If he can survive the pain, then he flips the switch and no one can touch him.
The newly minted American record holder at 5,000 meters indoors finishes a couple of weeks in Boston with 2 victories in a row and a very swift time to the finish line as he sets a new personal best at 3,000 meters, 7:40.71.
You know, we saw Woody in that pack, and he was looking around, looking for room. He didn't want to get caught behind, and then he knew, he saw the finish line. He knew he had only 200 laps to go, and that's where he goes, and it is instant. In an instant, he is pulling away, and no one can match that speed. His foot speed is unbelievable, and he comes home now for his 2nd victory and another personal best in just 2 weeks.
Well, the last couple of laps were speedy ones for Woody Kincaid. 30.55 and then a 29.16 to close it out as he takes the win. All those times you see there through about 8th place, all new lifetime bests. Let's go downstairs and check in with the winner, who's with Lewis Johnson.
Well, Paul, what a finish. So, Woody, how do you manage that late race positioning? And then, as Paul said, that new gear at the bell. Where do you find all that?
You know, I think I said it before, it's like a habitual thing. Like, it's like, okay, I've come this far. I got to finish now. You know, I got to finish strong. That's how I look at it. So I don't think I'll ever stop doing that, but one of these days it's all going to come together, and we're going to have more races like this, I think.
Looking great so far. Congrats on another win.
Thank you very much.
Paul?
Thanks very much, Lewis. Great performance. And a 2nd win in Boston for Woody Kincaid as he takes the men's 3,000 meters and will cut that distance by 9/10 and get set for the final race of the day here in Boston, the New Balance women's 300 meters. And there, a look at Gabby Thomas.
She has the bronze medal from the Olympic Games in Tokyo, but she is very good at 300 meters. We started our broadcast with a world record. Can we end our broadcast perhaps with one? She's just about 0.3 of a second away from the 35.45 world record. But she is at home. Gabby Thomas attended Harvard. She went to classes literally a mile from where we are right now, and they honor her as they should here. She is a Harvard legend, the greatest sprinter, female certainly, in the history of this esteemed school. She will start in lane 5. She's also the 4th fastest woman ever at 200 meters. She won the Olympic trials when she set that particular time before she went and got the bronze in Tokyo at the Olympics.
She won this race 2 years ago, just 0.02 of a second off the American record, and talked about wanting to go after that record today. She'll get pushed by Jenna Prandini. She's in a new training group, and that group's pretty good.
Yeah, Jenna Prandini has moved to Los Angeles to train with Bobby Kersey, who, he trains I think Mo now, and he also trains Sydney McLaughlin-Lavroni. So what a training group up there. The former world record holder in the 100 hurdles, Kenny Harrison, is also part of that group. So let's see how close Gabby Thomas can come to both the American and world records here. She has Prandini in the race as well, and some others.
35.71 is the American record.
I expect a good run from Prandini here as well, but this race figures to feature the young woman who is at home, Gabby Thomas, and she's already caught Kilbasinska on the outside. No real response so far from Prandini or Irby on the inside. This race so far has been pretty much all Thomas.
And we'll try to use that momentum off the final turn. The 26-year-old from nearby Florence, Massachusetts, feeling the hurt and the pain here. She's going to try to hold off Vashinka, and 36:31 will be the winning time as Thomas takes the win here to close out our afternoon in Boston.
Yeah, I think we had a pretty good idea that this was not going to be a record race, despite the fine effort from Gabby Thomas, because she was hurting in the last 100. She went out at a great pace, but then look at the pain on her face. 300, yeah, it's hard. And that line couldn't come quick enough for Gabby Thomas, but she gets the win at home. She's smiling going across the finish line, or maybe smiling because the finish line actually showed up. And the young lady who has had such great success in this town and in this city gets the win here.
And Gabby Thomas is the winner, and she closes out our day with Lewis Johnson.
All right, well, Gabby, what is it like to come back home close to Harvard, where you went to school, and race this 300?
It's amazing. I mean, I grew up in Massachusetts. Being back in Boston does feel like home. Having the support, great energy. I love it.
What about the 300? Do you love this race?
I have a love-hate with it. It's a great season opener. Great distance for me, but it is hard being a 200-meter runner and having to push that extra 100 meters, but I felt great today.
And quickly, what are your hopes for this 2023 season?
I'm hoping for a gold medal at World Championships. I got to get my hands on one.
Hey, congratulations. Enjoy the hometown here.
Thank you.
Thanks very much, Lewis.